Hello, I'm Kaiser and welcome to Moose Reads. Before I get started, I want to say that the opinions that I give here are my own opinions. They are extremely subjective. If I dislike a book, it is not a reflection on the author, and it is not a reflection on people who do like it. Different people have different tastes, and that's okay. Today, I will be doing my April wrap-up. In April, I read 10 books. These books totaled 2,805 pages, with an average of 281 pages per book and 94 pages per day. There should be chapters marked so you can easily skip around. The first book I read in April, continuing on from March, was Crucible of Gold by Naomi Novik. This is the 7th book in the Temeraire series. It is a historical fantasy. The description says, "The French have invaded Spain, forged an alliance with Africa's powerful Tswana Empire, and brought revolution to Brazil. Captain Will Lawrence and his indefatigable fighting dragon Temeraire must travel to South America to negotiate with the Incas, who are also being wooed by the French. If they fail, Napoleon may conquer yet another continent in his campaign for world domination, and the tide of the war may prove impossible to stop." 4 stars. I honestly can't say exactly what it is I didn't like as much about this one. I suspect it's a lot of little things adding up. For starters, there's a character death that, while not really a major character, was someone I liked, and I didn't care for the abrupt nature of their end. We also spend a lot of time with the dragon I don't especially like, and she mostly gets to puff herself up from start to finish. I also wasn't crazy about the system in place for the Incas with regard to their dragons, which was sort of a hoarding instinct that focused on people. Largely, though, I suspect it had to do with the way they treated one of the dragon captains in order to try to forge and solidify their alliance ahead of the French. It was pushy and massively overstepping to begin with, and then they drop a character reveal that makes it infinitely worse. And even Lawrence, who is usually the reasonable person when the dragons are being ridiculous, continued to push him into a situation that was nothing but downsides for him. Mostly it was fine. Plenty of things happened to keep it interesting, but it ended up being one of the lower ranked among a series that I mostly love. Then I followed that up with Blood of Tyrants. The description says, "This alternate version of the Napoleonic War, with dragons, ramps up as the 8th and penultimate Temeraire novel takes us to Japan, where a shattered Captain Lawrence is washed up on the shores, remembering nothing of his past, save as the captain of the Navy ship Reliant. He struggles to remember why he is in Japan, and why he has a startling knowledge of the Chinese language. He has no memory whatever of his dragon, Temeraire, which distresses Temeraire greatly when they are finally reunited. But so great is their bond that the two once again find themselves at the forefront of the war against Napoleon, just when all looks most hopeless." 5 stars. This is another book where Lawrence and Temeraire spend a lot of time separated. Unlike in Victory of Eagles, however, we spend a lot more time focused on Lawrence, and when we do spend time with Temeraire, he at least has a human around to curb his more absurd impulses. I liked the way things unfolded as Lawrence struggled to get back to where he belonged with no memory of the past several years. I do wish we'd spent a bit more time with the Japanese dragons, and there was some history alluded to that I thought was going to have more impact, but never did, which was kind of disappointing. The only major complaint I had was the final resolution to Lawrence's situation. I can't explain what bothered me clearly without spoilers, but it was kind of in the middle of a scene leading up to serious consequences, and then just kind of skipped time to when all that was resolved without any real explanation of what happened in between. Obviously, it wasn't enough to ruin anything, but I think it could have been better. And finally, I finished the series with League of Dragons. The description says, "The deadly campaign in Russia has cost both Napoleon and those allied against him. Napoleon has been denied his victory, but at a terrible price. Lawrence and the dragon Temeraire pursue the fleeing French army west, but are demoralized when Napoleon makes it back to Paris unscathed. Worse, they soon learn that the French have stolen Temeraire and Iskierka's egg. Now it is do or die, as our heroes need not only to save Temeraire's offspring, but also to stop Napoleon for good." 5 stars. It feels like a lot happened in this book, but nothing really felt rushed, other than perhaps the wrap-up at the end. For the most part in this series, I didn't care much for what the dragons got up to when left to their own devices, but there's quite a bit of plot surrounding the dragons in this one that I actually did like. I also really liked a new dragon they introduced, and I wish we'd gotten to spend a little more time with her. Overall, it was a good book and a good end to the series. After that, in anticipation of the series coming out, and because I wanted my brother to read them, he and I started working our way through the Murderbot Diaries on audiobook. I've already reviewed these on this channel, so I won't get into it again, other than to say they're 5-star reads for me, and I wholeheartedly recommend them. I also read Kiki's Delivery Service by Eiko Kadono. This is a fantasy coming-of-age story. The description says, half-witch Kiki never runs from a challenge, so when her 13th birthday arrives, she's eager to follow a witch's tradition, choose a new town to call home for 1 year. Brimming with confidence, Kiki flies to the seaside village of Koriko and expects that her powers will easily bring happiness to the townspeople, but gaining the trust of the locals is trickier than she expected. With her faithful, wisecracking black cat Gigi by her side, Kiki forges new friendships and builds her inner strength, ultimately realizing that magic can be found in even the most ordinary places. 3 stars. This book was fine. It's obviously aimed at a younger audience than me, so for the most part, I'm giving the stuff I didn't care for grace. I didn't actually know the Ghibli film was based on a book until, I think, last year. I like several Ghibli films, but I'll admit Kiki's Delivery Service has never been one I'm much attached to. But the ebook was on sale for like $2, and I thought maybe I'd like reading it better. Honestly though, it comes out about the same. As far as kids' books goes, I think it's probably pretty good. It's just not really a book for me. If you like the movie though, you'll probably like this too. And my last book of the month was Soul Eater by Lily Mayne. This is the first book in the Monstrous series. It is a post-apocalyptic fantasy. The description says, 20 years ago, monsters rose on Earth and began a new age of civilization. One where humans live in military-controlled, cramped, and dirty cities along the coasts, and the majority of the United States is known as the Wastes, a lawless, desolate, and dangerous place teeming with monsters that have claimed the land for their own, including Wynn, the Soul Eater. He appears every 3 years, making his way across the country and slaughtering humans randomly, sucking them dry until they're nothing but husks. I've only been in the military for 6 months, but now I'm part of a unit tasked with trying to stop and capture him. And when I'm the only soldier out of hundreds that the Soul Eater leaves alive, I realize that something about me has intrigued him. But what is it? What could a 23-year-old guy from the South, with no one and nothing in the world, have possibly done to capture the attention of a death monster with horns, blackened fingertips, and a face hidden in the dark depths of his hood? 3 stars. I wanted to like this more. The premise is pretty interesting, and I wanted to see what Mayne would do with it. Unfortunately, this is one of those books that's more interested in the monster fucking than the world building. It does both, but it's clear which was more important. I usually don't really mind erotica, but so far this year my tolerance has been pretty low, and I ended up skipping multiple sex scenes to get back to the plot. Still, what world building is done is interesting, and I'm a little curious about the rest of the series, and one monster in particular that Wynn seemed to think was very scary, so I might come back to this eventually. That's all the books I read in April. If you like this video, I hope you'll watch more in the future. Thanks for watching this one. Bye.